that we now know there's this really complex interaction between the biophysical and the societal and the systemic. So it's just how you show that. It probably does sit beneath or within. But my graphic design and visualization skills are really limited.
Maybe we'll move to the next one and then we'll come back and ask some questions about all three of them.
Captures everything. Clever. I'm interested in Tala and Joe's views. Do you think it captures the sort of integration of the different things, the interface, or do they look a bit separate?
Yeah, I think it looks a bit linear. And it might sort of systemic goes to this, to this, to this, whereas it's more encompassing, I guess. So something at the system level might just affect health without impacting the other stuff.
Any ideas of how we could address that, Joe, in terms of not looking so linear or like you said, with one leading directly to the other?
I'm not quite sure.
I think last time there was one that had arrows, wasn't there?
Yeah, we can, Donia, do you mind if we go forward to the other versions and then we can show Tala, Rosemary and Joe what it looked like? To the flowchart one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very linear, but it did try to capture all of those interfaces and linkages, but we decided it was all just too complex, really.
Yeah.
The students loved this one, which was funny. The first
one. Did they? Yeah, how interesting. Yeah. That's fascinating.
I think the programming for the med students is very linear and flowchart. They love flowcharts and they learn by flowcharts. So I think all of the students are like, oh yeah, that's my favourite one.
Isn't that interesting? Maybe it's a generational thing too. Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. So the one on the right for me, it looks visually really nice and it's got all the components, but it doesn't give me that sense of the interconnectedness. And I still don't like the one on the left. But it might be generational.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll show all three of the new ones, and then we've got some questions to kind of guide our discussion, but it was really helpful hearing your first impressions of the model as well and seeing you look at the models. In terms of, maybe we'll go to the sun actually, the first one, and speak to that one a little bit. In terms of the transferring of the information from the first version over to this one, do you think that we've captured everything, or do you feel that there's information missing, or we haven't quite hit the mark on it?
I think you've integrated the community a bit more into societal in the newer one.
Looking at this version of the model, do you think the students would understand the graphic design elements or the design elements of it, or do you think it would need a lot of description or some background information provided.
I don't think it'd hurt to provide them with it. Anyways, even if, their understanding was fine. But to me, like that's pretty easy to read.
Same here. Yeah. If I was teaching with this, I would introduce a discussion around the determinants of health and their complexity and interface and differing interactions, but this captures the components for me very powerfully. I think it's a very engaging representation.
And in terms of the layers of country that we've added, do they make sense on their own, or how do you think we should best teach this to the students?
I think the ones in the circle make sense to me, but I'm not sure what the others are. The sky and lightning and cloud, is that like the spiritual, or I don't know. I'm not sure. But the other ones make sense because wind sort of can be far away, but then below means it I like those ones because they make sense to me.
What are your kind of interpretations of that, Tala and Rosemary, before I explain and ruin it?
No, I think that really makes sense. The on country, below country. Yeah, that, I don't know, that's easy to understand. And so we're like the Wurundjeri people involved in that. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of you. In regards to
I'll let Rosemary. Rosemary, do you have any ideas in terms of?
I feel as a non-Aboriginal person that I'm not as kind of well embedded in culture to comment, but I do agree with Jo that I understand the wind, water, on and below country. That makes, it's just an intuitive thing, isn't it? And especially as somebody who actually spends a lot of time in nature and outdoors, that I really connect with that. I have to say I don't understand the significance of sky country and lightning spirit country and cloud country, but I love the kind of graphic and visual presence of them, and keen to learn what their meaning is. So it is something that that engages with me very rarely, even though I don't understand fully. I'm keen to understand. So that might be a good thing for non-Indigenous students if they react in that, gee, I want to learn more way.
Yeah. So this came about, as you can see, it's quite different. I mean, the structure is very similar to the first version, but the second version is where the Wurundjeri elders and community members had a really big impact on the conceptualization or the concept underlying the model. So the layers of country are the 7 layers of Wurundjeri country, and they've been integrated into the model, really trying to integrate country into the model, and have the kind of theoretical underpinning is from Wurundjeri country. So the different layers have been spoken about by one of the Wurundjeri community members, and we've done up a bit of a video explaining what they are and how they impact each other. So, for example, with the wind country, wind impacts all of those different layers. So it impacts water country, it impacts on country, and it also has an impact on below country. So that was chosen as that systemic because of the nature of wind and how it does cross all of those different levels. And then Bunjil's wing